Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today my guest is Hala Khouri, and she is the founder over at the Collective Resilience Model. Hala, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And for everybody listening that's just tuning in, this particular interview will be part of our Milken Conference global conference, a coverage series where we bring on individuals that either participated or were part of the conference. And in this case, Hala, actually, correct me if I'm off on this, you were also on a panel, right?
Yes, I was on a panel for mindfulness.
Amazing. So tell me a little bit more about that. And I understand this is your first time attending the conference, so give us a little peek into your first experience as well.
It was wonderful. I didn't get to attend too many other panels, but we had a really wonderful panel talking about the role of mindfulness, not just in well-being, but in community care. And it was a pretty diverse group of speakers. And then I got to be at the Wellness Garden at the conference, which was just incredible. They had all these healers and talking about well-being, which really is my jam in so many ways, is how can we be well and how can we be well together?
What was one of your, whether from the panel or otherwise, what was one of the big takeaways? Like, what made this conference special for you?
I think it was the sense of community, especially I think that with COVID, we lost so much of our in-person community. And to just see people all in one space that are really interested in figuring out how to make the world a better place, you could feel that. It was palpable. And people that are innovating and really thinking about the world in such a critical way. And so that was really the most powerful part for me.
Let's go a little bit further into your work. So the Collective Resilience Model, I see you're a founder. How did you come up with this?
Well, this particular model is rooted in my last 20 years of work. I started as a therapist and as a yoga teacher. A lot of my work was developed with system-impacted youth. I started teaching yoga at Central Juvenile Hall here in Los Angeles about 25 years ago. And at the same time, I was training to be a trauma therapist. And I started to think about how might I bring this trauma healing work into a group setting with these girls that are impacted by these systems of violence and racism and poverty and all that. And so the work really started there in that space with these young girls, figuring out how do I empower people to understand how their nervous system works so they can feel a sense of control over trauma or anxiety or depression? And how do we think about healing while acknowledging the larger systems that impact people's capacity to be well? So that was really my pathway into this work, was through yoga, trauma healing, and really just boots on the ground, working with hundreds, thousands of folks, supporting them to be well.
When you work with organizations serving trauma-impacted communities, what are you seeing most? Like, what are some of the most pressing issues?
The main thing I see is burnout. People feel like there's just not enough time in the day to get the work done that they need to do. But the other thing that I see that really breaks my heart is when that burnout causes breakdown inside the organization, where people are fighting with each other, where they're not getting along with each other, they're not able to collaborate effectively. So to me, that's really the pressing issue, because if unaddressed trauma is breaking down our organizations that are trying to support not just trauma-impacted communities, but social justice and really important issues, that breakdown really can break down our movements towards freedom. So those are the main things I see.
I do want to spend a little bit of some time here. I love supporting authors. I love when individuals write books, put them out. You have multiple books. Maybe tell us a little bit more about those.
So my first book I wrote during the pandemic, and it's called Peace from Anxiety, Get Grounded, Build Resilience, and Stay Connected Amidst the Chaos. And I like to say that this book is really, it's like disguised as a self-help book. It's got like a pastel cover and it's very peaceful looking, but it really is meant to take the reader on a journey from individual well-being into collective care. And so it's not like a traditional, like, here's how to get rid of your anxiety book. Of course, I talk about that, but ultimately I'm inviting people to think about community, the ecosystem of support they have around them, and how they're participating and finding purpose. So that's the first book. The second book I'm a contributing author to and an editor of. And that book is called Practicing Liberation, Transformative Tools for Collective Healing and Systems Change. And so you can see the evolution of my work from talking to individual folks about well-being and community and justice into talking to organizations of folks about how do we practice liberation together? How do we build communities where we can care for one another, where we can address trauma, where we can fumble through difficulty without turning on one another? And to me, that's what's really exciting right now is, the world is so messed up in so many ways. We are in our silos. We are fighting with one another. But if we can start to build communities inside of that are pushing against that, to me, that's how we're going to change the broader culture. So that's what Practicing Liberation is about.
What do you hope that your readers take away from let's just say your body of work? Because now multiple books, they're building on each other. You have, of course, your main website, the content you're creating, you're coming on shows like this. What do you hope your readers take away from the brand and from the books as well?
The reason I call the work I do collective resilience is because I like to say that well-being is something we do together. And so that's my hope. I think that even in the healing, psychology, self-help space, we are sold this overly individualistic idea of well-being. It's about, exercise and sleep and eat a healthy diet and go to therapy. And it doesn't remind us that we are social beings and that actually for us to be well, we need everybody to be well. COVID really revealed that to us, right? With COVID, until the most vulnerable people were okay, nobody was going to be okay. So that's my hope, and that people can hear that message not as a burden, not as like this is like a terrible idea, but as something that is actually hopeful, that we thrive when we're connected to one another. We thrive when we take care of one another, and we can heal from trauma. We can heal from almost anything when we are surrounded in a healthy community. And that's really my hope that folks take from my work.
So we're in, 2025. We're in June 2025. Half the years that are gone, basically. Actually, we're a couple of days away from that. What's next for you for the rest of the year? Like, what do you have on the horizon?
I'm really trying to build more infrastructure around my work and my model. It's just been me going in as a consultant into organizations, and I want to let the work scale a little bit. So I'm bringing in a few more faculty members, and we're trying to also raise some money so that we can get some fiscally sponsored projects so we can really bring the work into organizations that might not have budget to cover it. So I'm really in a process of articulating my work in a more grounded way and trying to make it accessible to more people and building up some new faculty who can share the work with others.
Fantastic. Well, Hala, first off, it's been great having you on the show and learning more about your work, about what you're doing, and congrats on the panel, of course, that you were on at the Milken Conference. Great stuff there. What a great privilege to be on the panel the first time you attended. So that's amazing. How do people follow up with you? How do they connect with your work and continue the dialogue?
I think the best way is through my website, which is my name, halakhouri.com. HALAKHOURI. A lot of what I do is not public facing, but I do try to offer some public facing workshops when possible. And I even have a little membership community where folks can come on and I used to be a yoga teacher, so I've got lots of yoga classes on there and short talks. And so that's a way to also access a little bit more of my therapeutic work.
Fantastic. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can connect. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Hala, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.